It is 2 a.m. You are completely unconscious, breathing steadily in your bed. But just beneath your ribs, wrapped around your lower intestines, a microscopic massacre is taking place. That innocent handful of crackers, that single slice of cheese, or that tiny bowl of leftover rice you ate at 11:30 p.m. because you felt just a little bit empty, it did not just sit in your stomach. Right now, it is forcing your cardiovascular system to suffocate itself. You might wake up tomorrow, look in the mirror, pinch your belly, and wonder why the morning cardio and the brutal fasting routines are failing you. You wonder why the fat feels harder, thicker, and more stubborn. The answer has absolutely nothing to do with calories. It has everything to do with what happened to the blood vessels in your gut while you were dreaming. We need to treat this like a crime scene. If we were to insert a microscopic camera into the mesenteric veins, the tiny, fragile blood vessels that feed your digestive tract, right at this very second, we would not see a smooth, flowing river of red blood cells. We would see a traffic jam of sharp, unrefined lipid crystals. When you consume carbohydrates or fats late at night, your body is physically unprepared to process them. The circadian rhythm has already commanded your digestive system to power down. Yet suddenly, a massive influx of raw fuel is dumped into the stomach. To break this down, the heart is forced to artificially elevate its beat, pumping blood furiously toward the gastric region. But there is a fatal flaw in this emergency response. The microvessels surrounding the intestines are incredibly narrow, designed only for the slow, methodical absorption of fully broken down nutrients. Instead, they are being violently rammed by large, unprocessed fat molecules. These lipid structures act like microscopic shards of glass. With every forced heartbeat, these shards scrape against the endothelial lining, the delicate inner wall of your veins. They tear micro fissures into the tissue. Your blood vessels are literally being ripped apart from the inside out, millimeter by millimeter, and your body panics. It realizes that if these vessels rupture, you bleed internally. So it deploys a desperate, extreme survival mechanism. It signals the immediate creation of visceral fat. But this is not the soft, jiggly fat that sits under your skin. This is a dense, hard, fibrotic tissue. Your body rapidly builds this visceral fat not to store energy, but to use it as a biological bandage. It wraps this hard fat tightly around the torn vessels, pinning them against your liver and intestines to stop the internal damage. Every time you eat late, you are not just gaining weight. You are forcing your body to cast your internal organs in a suffocating layer of adipose cement just to keep you alive. This brings us to the most terrifying part of the equation, the wrath of the enzymes. Your digestive tract relies on a highly specialized army of biological catalysts, primarily amylase and lipase. These enzymes are the only things capable of dismantling food into harmless, usable energy. But the highly processed nature of modern late-night snacks, loaded with hidden preservatives and refined seed oils, introduces a flood of free radicals directly into the gut environment. These free radicals act like acid thrown onto a shield. They instantly denature the proteins that make up your digestive enzymes. The lipase is paralyzed. The amylase is obliterated. Without this protective enzymatic barrier, the food you ate does not digest. It simply rots. Sitting at an internal temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, the undigested mass ferments right inside your small intestine. This putrefaction process releases a highly toxic byproduct known as endotoxins. Because the intestinal lining is already stretched and inflamed, these endotoxins leak directly out of the gut and seep straight into the bloodstream. Your blood is now carrying a septic load. Now your immune system has no choice but to intervene. It detects these endotoxins and registers them as a lethal bacterial invasion. Instantly, a massive wave of inflammatory cytokines is deployed into your vascular system. This is the exact moment visceral fat transforms from a mere storage unit into an active, malicious endocrine organ. It starts manufacturing its own inflammatory chemicals, pumping them out 24 hours a day. When you wake up feeling utterly exhausted, with stiff joints and a heavy brain, you are not just tired from a lack of sleep. You are experiencing the physical hangover of a systemic immune war. Your blood has become thick, viscous, and highly reactive. Let us look closely at the walls of your carotid artery, the primary vessel supplying oxygen to your brain. Because your blood is heavily saturated with floating lipid crystals and inflammatory cytokines, sticky biological plaques begin to accumulate along the arterial walls. Over months and years, these plaques calcify, but the real danger lies in their instability. The constant, low-grade inflammation driven by your visceral fat weakens the fibrous cap holding these plaques together. One night, while you are sleeping, a minor spike in blood pressure, perhaps from a mild sleep apnea episode caused by the weight of the fat pressing against your diaphragm, forces a surge of blood against this weakened cap. It ruptures. In milliseconds, platelets rush to the site of the rupture, acting like a biological glue to seal the injury. They clump together, trapping red blood cells and creating a solid mass, a blood clot. This clot, or thrombus, breaks free. It is now navigating through the narrowing tunnels of your vascular system, heading directly upward. It bypasses the neck, enters the delicate microscopic vessels of the brain, and suddenly it gets wedged tight. Blood flow stops, oxygen is cut off. This is the silent stroke. You might not even feel it immediately. It could manifest as a brief moment of dizziness the next morning, a slight numbness in your left hand, or a transient shadow in your vision. But a tiny portion of your neurological tissue has just died, starved of the very oxygen that your late-night habit prevented from arriving. You cannot simply starve this fat away. You cannot run on a treadmill and expect this fibrotic tissue to melt. Caloric restriction is completely useless when your cellular metabolism is paralyzed and your digestive enzymes are effectively dead. To dismantle this visceral armor, we must execute a precise microphysical intervention. We must resurrect the lipase enzyme and alter the chemical environment of your gut while you sleep. This requires a specific biological solvent. Exactly 30 minutes before you close your eyes for the night, you must consume exactly 150 milliliters of warm water. Into this water, introduce 1 single teaspoon of raw, unpasteurized apple cider vinegar. It is absolutely critical that this vinegar contains the murky, floating substance known as the mother. Finally, squeeze exactly 5 drops of fresh lemon juice into the solution. This is not a detox tea. This is a targeted chemical strike. When this liquid enters your highly inflamed alkaline digestive tract, the pure acetic acid from the vinegar immediately forces a rapid drop in the pH level. This sudden acidification is the exact biological trigger required to reactivate dormant lipase enzymes. Simultaneously, the raw enzymes and beneficial bacteria suspended within the mother act as reinforcements, flooding the intestinal lining and neutralizing the endotoxins that are waiting to leak into your blood. The citric acid from the 5 drops of lemon initiates a gentle, continuous breakdown of the calcified lipid structures clinging to your mesenteric veins. As you sleep, instead of building more fat to protect your suffocating vessels, your body is finally able to begin dissolving the adipose cement. You have a choice tonight. You can open the refrigerator at midnight, grab that small piece of bread, and force your cardiovascular system back into a state of suffocating panic. Or you can prepare this simple microscopic dose of acetic acid, go to sleep, and allow your body to surgically dismantle the visceral fat from the inside out. Do not let your next meal be the one that forces a clot into your brain. Subscribe to Cloud9 Beats and turn on the notification bell, because our next medical dossier will reveal the exact mechanism your liver uses to clear plaque, and you cannot afford to miss it.